Hi everybody! Today's video is all about powders, and powders that really defy the expectation many of us have of powders. These are all powders in this video that I feel can be applied in a reasonable amount, a light to medium amount of product on the skin, and they really don't look powdery, but they perform all of the functions that you would want a powder to do. They make your skin look a little more even. They might add a little coverage to your skin, certain ones. They might decrease the amount of shine you see on your skin, but they don't have that telltale powder sitting on top of the skin type of look that a lot of, very random and average powders could give you. These are all powders that I think do a good job of becoming one with the skin. So I did a video not all that long ago on foundations that don't look like foundation, and I think this video on powders was probably even more requested. Might have been because of that video, or just, powders are maybe a little bit more intriguing in this respect, and it was harder. It's harder to come up with products of a powder texture, that really don't look like their texture. So I've got varying price ranges, varying finishes on the skin, and varying coverage levels as well. So I'm going to start out with a couple that I see as being capable of being a powder foundation. So giving you the most coverage out of anything I'm going to mention. They can be used in conjunction with other foundations if you really like to layer them up, or you could try wearing them on their own. It kind of depends on what your expectations are for coverage and just, what you want to do on a day-to-day basis. But first, what I want to talk about is from IT Cosmetics, and it's the Celebration Foundation Illumination. So Celebration Foundation has been a long-standing powder foundation in the IT Cosmetics line, and then in more recent years they have come out with the Illumination version. And I don't think the word illumination should scare you at all from trying this product, because it's not like overly glowy, glittery particles. You're not going to swatch this and be like, oh, it looks like a highlight. No, it's very much the coverage, the softness, a really rich texture that you would expect out of a powder foundation, but it just has a more natural look on the skin. I think it looks more natural than just the original that IT Cosmetics put out, and I wear this in the shade Light. I've got this on today, and I feel like I put it through the true test because I'm wearing a very matte foundation underneath. I'm wearing the Catrice Matte Mousse all over my skin, so my skin was already just super flat. And then putting this on top, instead of adding to the flatness, I feel like it actually gave my skin just a little more dimension, a little bit more of a skin-like appearance. So I can't say enough good things about this product. Definitely one of my favorite powder foundations. The way I like to apply a lot of these foundations, generally speaking, is with this e.l.f. complexion brush. $3 brush. As you can see, there's a little flatness to it when you turn it sideways, but the bristles are tapered all the way down here. So when you just kind of lay it in powder like that, see how it picks up all along the side? And then I just kind of apply that in a light sweeping motion all over the skin. And I should have pointed this out in the beginning, but I think these products are probably as close to foolproof as you can get, but I hesitate to say that because I still think certain powders that I'm going to mention can be over applied pretty easily and still kind of look powdery. So you've got to exercise a little bit of self-control as you do these products. Start small, see, is that enough? Is that giving me the desired effect on my skin? And also realize that not all powders need to be applied all over the face. There are so many times when I will just, hit those areas where I know the powder is going to help my makeup last the most. It's going to have the most impact for me, maybe on the T-zone, and maybe sides of the nose. Those are effective areas for me to apply powder. But the thing I really want to point out about this IT Cosmetics is a similar product on the market that I've been using even longer, and that's the NYX Stay Matte But Not Flat Powder Foundation. Fantastic product, so worth mentioning here. The reason why I don't have it is because that's one of the very few products that I have completely used up. Like, I was scraping the outer edge of the pan to get all of that product out. So when it comes down to it and I use this one up, I will probably go and repurchase the NYX because they are that similar, I think, in texture, in the way they look on the skin. I truly feel like that one has essentially all of the same qualities as the IT Cosmetics. So throwing both of those out there for you as an option. Now, if even the thought of a slight glow on the skin from your powder foundation is a turnoff to you, you may want to look into this puppy. This is the Chanel Double Perfection Lumiere Longwear Flawless Sunscreen Powder Makeup. It does have SPF 15 in it. I wear this in the shade 32 Beige Rose. And this is super impressive because I do feel that it is a matte finish powder that does not look powdery. It's probably the most skin perfecting powder that I'm going to mention in this video. It's just really special. I mean, I know several of you have tried it. You've commented on other videos where I've mentioned it and you said, yeah, that stuff is the real deal. It's so nice. I would say kind of an across the board thing that powders that I really like have in common is when you touch them, when you feel them between your fingers, they have a velvety smoothness that stays even as you continue to rub your fingers together, and some powders just totally rub away and it's like, okay, I can't feel anything there anymore. Powders like this one or like the IT Cosmetics, you continue to feel them becoming one with your skin and actually smoothing out the texture of your fingertips. So I could go on all video about this stuff, but this would be the powder foundation, this or the NYX. For the subtle hint of glow, this is your matte powder foundation that I don't think looks like foundation or powder. Let's move on to more of a middle of the road coverage wise powder. I would say this is like your classic pressed powder. And this one has, I think, an across the board different feel from so many drugstore pressed powders. And it's the Revlon Nearly Naked. And I have this in the shade Light. I think this line runs a little bit dark because, I mean, I don't know, I would glance at that and assume maybe that's medium. You do have a mirror, although there is a clear window right there. And this powder is crazy smooth. I would call it like a natural matte finish. So you can put it all over. You can tell that you have done away with some shine. Let's say you're using this as a touch-up, but it doesn't look entirely flat. And I don't know, some people might feel they could wear this like a powder foundation. Maybe just pair it with some concealer on a light day and, you know, you check it out, see if you like that coverage level. But I would say it's less coverage than the last two that I mentioned. It still just has that really high-end softness to the feel. It's so different from a lot of drugstore powders. Now, something that is really new to me that kind of kicked me in the butt and said, go ahead and do this video and make sure you include this product. It's the Too Faced Primed and Poreless Skin Smoothing Pressed Powder. I love this soft pink and gold compact. Oh, it's so pretty. And I believe it was MakeupbyTiffanyD who inspired me to go ahead and make this purchase. I think she's talked about this product several times. And I went ahead and got it, and I was so thrilled with how this worked on my under eyes. So as a setting powder or as a touch-up type powder, so something you could take with you on the go, dab over the T-zone. I really feel like this looks so invisible, but it really is doing something. You know, it can mattify that under eye area and just not look too heavy at all. It really, I can't identify the powder even being there. It's a powder that doesn't look like a powder. So the way this is packaged, you've got the product here. It looks like one of those classic white or near white translucent powders, and then there's a puff in the bottom part. I was kind of fearing when I got this, or when I ordered it, that it would be kind of like Max Prep and Prime powder, which I think is okay, but sometimes I would struggle to feel like I was picking enough product up on my brush, and the overall effect on my skin would just be kind of underwhelming. I didn't feel like it was really going there and helping me out. This, I can see it mattifying, I can see it perfecting, but I don't see product. And the brush that I've been using with this, pretty much anywhere I want to put it, like on the under eye for sure, but even if I go elsewhere on the face, I seem to just use this small brush, the small tapered brush. And you can see you dab into the product, it definitely does pick up on your brush, but it doesn't look white on the skin. And you can just dab this boom on the under eye, or I might also take it around the T-zone. Yesterday I not only set my under eye with it, but I used it later in the day after I was already looking a little shiny around my nose, and it just looks so perfect. It didn't look like I caked on a bunch more powder, it just looks smooth. So if you're looking for a good translucent colorless option, plus having it pressed makes it really travel friendly, you might look into this Primed and Poreless. Really good stuff. Thank you, Tiffany D. And finally, I want to mention a loose powder powder here. And this is the one loose powder that I feel like requires no special steps, no, you got to do this and this and this before you put the powder on, and then afterward you got to do this. Like, it's just straight up like invisible powder that still does what you want the powder to do. And I think used on the under eye area, that's a very touchy zone for powder, and this does really well there. It's the by Terry Hyaluronic Hydra powder. So this is a powder that actually contains, I think they called it like little spheres, tiny minuscule spheres, and it's the finest powder ever. So these things must be just the teensiest spheres of hyaluronic acid, and it is a totally white powder. It is just light as air. When you put a brush into this, expect to see a small cloud because it is so light and it can go airborne so easily. A lot of really light white powders you would put on your skin and really be able to identify what you just put there. You might have to go to a little extra work to make it look more natural. This, I swear, it just kind of goes invisible on the skin, but it actually does mattify. It does smooth. It does seem to do, I think, a little bit of blurring if you've got some fine lines in this area. And for me, I kind of feel like the Too Faced is surprisingly capable of doing a lot of what this is doing, but it's just in the pressed version. So it's kind of like, which format do you like? But I know this would be less expensive than this one, but it's truly like a devious little loose powder. I mean, it goes anywhere on your face and you're like, what? Where is it? But wait, oh, I look good. Okay. And these are not the only powders that I like. There are other powders. A prime example would be like the Milani Multitasker powder. This is a good one, but it certainly looks like powder. It will do everything you want coverage wise, but you'll just see it more on the skin. You'll maybe go to greater lengths to make it not look like powder by layering other stuff on. If we're talking baking, the Airspun loose powder, the NYC loose powder, those can do a good job for me and look pretty darn fresh on the under eye, but really only under that special circumstance where I am doing the baking method, putting them on top of a very emollient concealer, letting that process take place, and then dusting away. It's like a real distinct thing has to happen with those for me to love the way they look on my skin. I wouldn't really feel like I could casually dust those on all over and think, oh, that doesn't look like powder. Yes, it does. And one honorable mention to this video would have to be the L'Oreal True Match. I feel like it's really close to that Revlon Nearly Naked, and this comes in a fantastic shade range. This has been on the market for a long time, the True Match powders. I'm honestly kind of surprised that they don't market these as powder foundations because I think the coverage is really good. It's a little more matte, I think, on the skin than the Nearly Naked. Not quite as downright buttery on the skin as that one. You have to maybe watch yourself just a little bit more as you're going to town applying this all over the skin, but it's still a really strong contender for this type of powder I'm talking about. So maybe you're saying, Emily, I'm not in the market to pick up a new powder. I've got to use what I have. So a few tips I think to making the most of any powder would be, number one, don't overuse. Realize what your skin needs powder-wise. You may not need that powder everywhere, and you may not need a lot of it. Another little trick here would be some highlight on the skin, taking it on top of the cheekbones and all the way down to right in this area. I'm not saying you need to get right up on the sides of the nose where maybe you're prone to noticing a lot of pores, but get it down at least into this area, because then when people see your face, there is some glow happening. You're taking away some of the mattness that a powder has created. So like today I'm wearing this Makeup Revolution Vivid Baked Highlight in Golden Lights. Whatever highlight you have, I'm not saying you need to lay it on thick or anything, but just a light amount taken right down in here can make a world of difference for the overall look of the skin. And then a setting spray. There's nothing like a setting spray to take away a powdery look. With these special, really wonderful powders that I've mentioned in this video, I'm not saying you would absolutely have to use a setting spray on top, but for me it's really become that part of my routine where I'm like, what have I got to lose? It always seems to help a little bit. So I like this Hard Candy Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer Mist 12-Hour Power. So that is what I have to say about powders, and I hope this was a useful video for you. Again, I think most any powder has the capability of being screwed up, of being over applied, of being caked on a little too thick, but these are the closest to being foolproof as I can find, and I'm just really pleased with the results that I get from these, and I hope you'll like one or two of them as well. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.